You won't believe what happened when an MMA trainer's arrogance met a black belt in reality. The sound of iron hitting iron echoes through the gym, but nothing could prepare anyone for the collision about to happen between pride and power. Inside the concrete walls of Iron Beast MMA, sweat hangs in the air like a thick fog of ambition. This isn't just any gym, it's where champions are forged and egos are fed. At the center of it all stands Coach Rex Martinez, 6'2" of pure arrogance, his undefeated record tattooed across his chest like a badge of honor. His voice booms over the sound of heavy bags being pummeled and gloves slapping leather. 47-0, baby. Rex shouts, shadowboxing for his audience of admirers. Nobody in this city can touch me and nobody ever will. The crowd of young fighters nods in agreement, their phones already recording another one of his legendary rants. This is his kingdom, his stage, and everyone here knows it. But kingdoms have a way of crumbling when you least expect it. Near the corner of the gym, almost invisible among the chaos, moves a figure that most people don't even notice. Darius Cole pushes his mop bucket across the rubber mats, his movements deliberate and quiet. He's been cleaning these floors for 8 months now, arriving before dawn and leaving after everyone else has gone home. To the fighters, he's just part of the furniture. The help, the background noise, the man who makes their world spotless so they can focus on being stars. The moment that changes everything happens in an instant. As Darius rounds the corner near the main ring, his bucket catches the edge of a loose mat. Water splashes across the floor, droplets catching the harsh fluorescent lights like scattered diamonds. The metallic clang of the bucket hitting the ground cuts through the gym noise like a blade. Silence falls like a curtain. Rex stops mid-punch, his gloves still raised, his face twisting into a sneer that could freeze blood. Every eye in the gym turns toward the quiet janitor who's already reaching for his mop, ready to clean up the accident without a word of complaint. Well, Rex's voice drips with contempt as he approaches, his entourage following like hungry wolves. Looks like the help doesn't know how to handle his equipment. The laughter that follows is sharp and cutting, designed to humiliate rather than amuse. Darius says nothing, simply continues cleaning, his movements steady and unhurried. But Rex isn't done, he's just getting started. You know what, janitor? Rex circles him like a predator, his voice rising so everyone can hear. Maybe you need some exercise. All that mopping must be making you soft. More laughter echoes through the gym, phones coming out to capture what everyone thinks will be another moment of Rex's legendary cockiness. The air grows thick with tension as Rex's next words slice through the atmosphere. What do you say we step into the ring? Consider it community service. And that's when something shifts in Darius's eyes. Not anger, not fear, but something far more dangerous. Calm recognition. He looks up from his mop, meets Rex's gaze directly and simply nods. The hook is set. The trap is baited. And everyone in this gym is about to witness something they'll never forget. As word spreads through the gym like wildfire, the atmosphere transforms from casual workout session to gladiatorial spectacle. Within minutes, the news travels beyond these walls. Social media posts begin flooding timelines. MMA trainer about to destroy janitor in the ring. The gym fills with people who normally wouldn't be caught dead in a place like this. Influencers smelling content, college kids with their phones ready, even some local gym owners curious to see Rex's latest victim. The betting starts immediately. $50 says the janitor doesn't last 30 seconds. I'll take that action, make it 20 seconds. The laughter is constant now, a soundtrack of cruelty that follows Darius wherever he moves. Every step he takes is accompanied by whispers, pointing fingers, and the soft glow of phone screens recording his every movement. Rex, meanwhile, is in his element. He's stripped down to his fight shorts, his muscled frame glistening under the lights as he puts on a show for his growing audience. He throws combinations at the heavy bag with theatrical precision, each punch punctuated by commentary about what he's going to do to the help. See that right hook? Rex calls out, his fist connecting with the bag with a satisfying thud. That's going straight through Janitor Boy's guard. The crowd erupts in approval, their bloodlust growing with each demonstration. But while Rex performs for his audience, something else is happening in the shadows of the gym. Older members, veterans who remember when this place was about respect rather than entertainment, begin to take notice of small details that others miss. The way Darius moves, fluid, balanced, with the subtle footwork of someone who's spent serious time in combat sports. The way he breathes, controlled, meditative, like a man who's found his center in the chaos. There's something familiar about him, whispers Tommy Garcetti, a former Golden Gloves champion who now trains amateur fighters. The way he carries himself. I've seen that stance before. Meanwhile, the gym owner, Marcus Webb, reluctantly agrees to let the sparring session happen. He knows it's wrong, knows it could end badly, but the crowd is growing and so is the buzz around his gym. In the world of combat sports, attention equals money and money keeps the lights on. As the evening approaches, Darius finishes his cleaning duties with the same methodical precision he always shows. But tonight, instead of heading home to his small apartment across town, he makes a different journey. Tonight, he goes to a storage unit on the outskirts of the city, a place he hasn't visited in over 3 years. The metal door rolls up with a rusty groan, revealing a shrine to a different life. Championship belts hang from hooks on the wall, their gold plates dulled with age but still magnificent. Photographs tell the story of a career that burned bright and fast. Images of a younger Darius standing victorious over fallen opponents, his fists raised in triumph, his face unmarked by the battles that would eventually drive him from the sport he loved. In the center of it all sits an old leather duffel bag, worn smooth by countless trips to countless fights. Darius unzips it slowly, reverently, revealing gloves that have tasted victory more times than most fighters dream of, hand wraps stained with the sweat of 100 battles, and beneath it all, newspaper clippings yellowed with time. "The Phantom Fist strikes again," reads one headline. "Darius Cole remains undefeated," proclaims another. 23 professional fights. 23 victories. 18 by knockout. 0 defeats. As Darius runs his fingers over the leather of his old gloves, the memories flood back, not just of victories but of why he walked away. The politics, the corruption, the way the sport he loved had been poisoned by greed and ego. He'd retired at the top, choosing dignity over destruction, but the warrior inside him never truly went to sleep. Tomorrow that warrior awakens. The night passes slowly, but morning arrives with the weight of inevitability, and the gym fills with an energy that's part carnival, part execution. By the time the doors open, there's already a line of people waiting to get in. Word has spread through social media like a virus. Everyone wants to witness what they believe will be a massacre. The gym that normally holds maybe 40 people is packed with twice that number, bodies pressed against the walls, phones held high, the air thick with anticipation and the scent of impending humiliation. Rex arrives like a conquering hero, his entourage clearing a path through the crowd. He's wearing custom shorts with his nickname, the Destroyer, emblazoned across the back, his body oiled and gleaming under the harsh lights. Every movement is calculated for maximum effect. The way he flexes, the way he shadow boxes, the way he acknowledges his fans with theatrical bows and cocky grins. "Ladies and gentlemen," Rex announces, his voice carrying over the crowd, "today you're going to witness something special. Today, the janitor learns why champions belong in the ring and the help belongs in the closet." The laughter is deafening now, cruel and sharp, bouncing off the concrete walls like ricocheting bullets. But somewhere in that crowd, Tommy Garcetti's eyes narrow as he studies the quiet man still mopping floors in the corner, still preparing for his regular workday as if nothing unusual is about to happen. When Darius finally approaches the ring area, the mockery reaches a crescendo. Rex has prepared a special humiliation. Worn-out training gloves that are more taped than leather, headgear with cracks running through the padding, and shorts that are 2 sizes too big. "Can't have you getting hurt on my watch," Rex says with mock concern, his grin wide enough to show every tooth. "Wouldn't want you to be unable to clean toilets tomorrow." The crowd roars its approval as Darius accepts the substandard equipment without complaint. He puts on the gear methodically, the same way he approaches everything else, with quiet dignity and absolute focus. But those who know what to look for notice something in the way he adjusts the gloves, the professional manner in which he tests the wrist wraps, the subtle shift in his posture as he transforms from janitor to fighter. As he steps through the ropes, Darius catches sight of his reflection in the gym's mirror wall. For just a moment, he sees not the man who spent the last 3 years in exile, but the warrior who once stood undefeated at the pinnacle of his sport. The Phantom Fist. The man who could end fights with surgical precision, who moved like smoke and struck like lightning. The bell hasn't rung yet, but the real fight, the battle between perception and reality, between ego and skill, between the powerful and the underestimated, has already begun. The crowd's bloodlust reaches a fever pitch as both men circle each other in the ring, but only one of them truly understands what's about to happen. Rex dances around the ring like a peacock displaying its feathers, throwing flashy combinations at the air, his movements designed more for the cameras than for combat effectiveness. He's playing to his audience and they're eating it up. Every jab he throws is accompanied by commentary. "This is how you break down an opponent." Every feint generates cheers. "Look at that footwork, people." Meanwhile, Darius stands in his corner, barely moving, his breathing steady and controlled. To the untrained eye, he looks nervous, overwhelmed, completely out of his depth. The crowd sees what they want to see, a lamb being led to slaughter, entertainment at its most primal. But if anyone in that crowd understood the science of fighting, they might notice the subtle details that tell a different story. The way Darius's weight is perfectly distributed on the balls of his feet. The slight bend in his knees that speaks of coiled potential energy. The way his eyes track every movement Rex makes, cataloging patterns, noting tendencies, building a mental map of his opponent's weaknesses. "You ready to dance, Janitor?" Rex calls out, bouncing on his toes as he approaches the center of the ring. "Don't worry, I'll make it quick and painless. Wouldn't want you to miss too many days of work." The laughter from the crowd is so loud it almost drowns out the sound of the bell, but when that metallic clang cuts through the air, everything changes. The playful atmosphere evaporates like morning mist, replaced by something primal and dangerous. Rex charges forward immediately, throwing a wild overhand right that would have knocked out most amateur fighters. But Darius isn't there anymore. He's moved just enough to let the punch whistle past his ear, the displacement of air the only evidence of how close death came to finding him. The crowd gasps. That wasn't luck. That was precision. Rex throws another combination. Left hook, right cross, uppercut. Each punch thrown with genuine bad intentions now. But again, Darius seems to know exactly where each strike is going before Rex does. He slips, he weaves, he moves like water around stone, never more than an inch away from devastating contact but never quite getting touched. "Stand still and fight like a man." Rex snarls, frustration creeping into his voice as his punches meet nothing but air. The crowd's cheers are becoming more uncertain now, confused murmurs replacing confident laughter. For 2 full minutes this dance continues. Rex throwing everything he has, Darius moving like smoke, avoiding damage while seemingly offering no offense of his own. But those who understand fighting, and there are a few in this crowd, begin to see what's really happening. Darius isn't just avoiding punches. He's reading Rex like an open book, learning his patterns, timing his rhythm, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal who he really is. Every missed punch makes Rex more frustrated, more wild, more vulnerable. Every defensive masterpiece from Darius plants seeds of doubt in Rex's mind. And then, as Rex throws one more wild haymaker, Darius does something that changes everything. He doesn't just slip the punch. He steps inside it, his left hand coming up to parry, his right hand cocking back with the smooth precision of a master craftsman preparing his tools. The crowd holds its breath. Even they can sense that something is about to happen, something that will redefine everything they thought they knew about power, about respect, about the dangerous assumption that a man's job defines his capabilities. In that split second, Darius Cole isn't a janitor anymore. He's the Phantom Fist, and he's about to remind everyone why they called him that. Time slows to a crawl as 23 fights worth of muscle memory takes control, and the crowd witnesses the difference between performance and pure, devastating skill. The punch comes from nowhere and everywhere at once. Rex, overextended from his wild swing, finds himself perfectly positioned for what happens next. Darius's right hand travels less than 8 inches, but those 8 inches contain 3 years of suppressed power, 2 decades of refined technique, and the crystallized fury of a man who's been underestimated one too many times. The sound of impact echoes through the gym like a gunshot. It's not the theatrical thud of gloves hitting heavy bags or the sharp crack of sparring sessions. This is the sound of precision meeting vulnerability, of skill meeting arrogance, of justice meeting its moment. Rex's eyes go wide with shock, then immediately glassy with the unmistakable fog of unconsciousness. His body follows the same laws of physics that govern falling trees, slowly at first, then with inevitable, crushing finality. He hits the canvas with a sound that seems to reverberate through every person in the building. Silence falls like a blanket over the crowd. Phones that were recording stop mid-frame, their owners too stunned to remember they're supposed to be capturing this moment. The gym, which moments before was filled with the sound of bloodthirsty excitement, now contains only the soft hum of ventilation systems and the barely audible sound of 40-plus people holding their breath. Darius stands over his fallen opponent, but there's no celebration, no posturing, no theatrical victory dance. He simply removes his gloves with the same methodical precision he brings to everything else, drops them beside Rex's unconscious form, and begins to walk toward the ropes. But before he can leave the ring, reality crashes back into the gym like a tidal wave. Someone in the crowd, Tommy Garcetti, the old Golden Gloves champion, stands up slowly, his face pale with recognition. "Jesus Christ, Tommy whispers, but in the silence, his words carry like a prayer. That's Darius Cole. That's the Phantom Fist. The name hits the crowd like electricity. Phones come back to life, fingers flying over screens as people search for confirmation of what they just witnessed. And there it is, in archived fight footage and old newspaper clippings. The same face, the same devastating right hand, the same impossible precision that just ended Rex Martinez's perfect record with surgical efficiency. 23-0, someone calls out from the crowd, their voice filled with awe. He retired undefeated. Underground legend. As the truth spreads through the gym, the energy shifts completely. The laughter and mockery evaporate, replaced by a mixture of shame, amazement, and the uncomfortable realization that they've all been accomplices in trying to humiliate a man who could have destroyed any of them without breaking a sweat. Rex begins to stir, consciousness returning slowly like a computer rebooting after a crash. He blinks several times, trying to focus on the faces staring down at him, trying to piece together how he went from dominant predator to horizontal victim in the space of a single heartbeat. The videos are already uploading to social media, and the titles tell the story that everyone in this gym will be talking about for years. Janitor reveals he's undefeated MMA legend. Coach gets humbled by his own janitor. The most brutal one-punch knockout you'll ever see. But Darius doesn't stay to watch his vindication go viral. He simply nods to the crowd, the same respectful gesture he's given them every day for 8 months, and walks out of the ring toward the equipment closet where his mop and bucket wait patiently for him to return to the work that gives his life meaning. The aftermath unfolds like ripples spreading across still water, each wave carrying the weight of changed perspectives and hard-earned humility. Rex wakes up fully to find the gym transformed around him. The crowd that had cheered his every move just minutes before now looks at him with expressions ranging from pity to disappointment. The phones that had been ready to capture his latest victim's humiliation are now focused on his own downfall, recording his confusion and shame for posterity. What happened? Rex asks, though somewhere deep in his consciousness he already knows. The taste of canvas on his lips, the ache in his jaw, the way everyone's looking at him, it all tells the story his ego doesn't want to accept. You got knocked out, Tommy Garcetti says simply, extending a hand to help Rex to his feet. By one of the greatest fighters this city has ever produced. A man you called the Help. As Rex struggles to stand, his legs still unsteady from the concussion, the full weight of his situation begins to dawn on him. The undefeated record he'd worn like armor is shattered. The reputation he'd built on intimidation and bluster lies in ruins. But more than that, he's forced to confront the ugly truth about who he really is. A man who confused physical strength with moral authority, who mistook victory for virtue. Meanwhile, social media explodes with the footage. The video spreads faster than wildfire, each share and repost adding another layer to a story that people can't stop watching. Janitor destroys arrogant MMA fighter, becomes the most watched combat sports video of the month. Fight analysts break down the technical perfection of Darius's punch. Sports journalists dig into his background, uncovering the legend of the Phantom Fist and his mysterious retirement at the peak of his career. But the man at the center of this viral storm is nowhere to be found in the spotlight. Darius has returned to his routine, methodically cleaning the very ring where he just delivered the most perfect piece of justice anyone in that gym had ever witnessed. The mop moves across the canvas in the same steady rhythm it always has, erasing the evidence of what just occurred while leaving the memory burned into everyone's minds forever. Marcus Webb, the gym owner, approaches hesitantly, his business instincts warring with his conscience. Darius, he says quietly, I had no idea who you were. I'm sorry about all of this. About letting it happen. Darius pauses in his cleaning, looks up at Marcus with eyes that hold no anger, only a kind of tired wisdom. You didn't let anything happen, Marcus. You just revealed what was already there. I want to offer you a position, Marcus continues, the words tumbling out in a rush. Head trainer. Your own classes. Top dollar. Hell, I'll put your name on the sign outside. But Darius shakes his head gently, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. I appreciate that, Marcus. But I have a job. I'm good at it and it matters. Not everything that's valuable glitters. The conversation is interrupted by an unexpected voice. Rex, still shaky but determined, approaching with something that looks suspiciously like humility. Darius, he says, and the use of an actual name instead of janitor, or the Help, doesn't go unnoticed by anyone in the room. I owe you an apology, Rex continues, the words clearly difficult for a man who spent his career believing his own hype. I was wrong. About you, about a lot of things. Darius studies Rex for a long moment, seeing something in the younger man's eyes that wasn't there before, the first glimmer of actual self-awareness. "Apology accepted," he says simply. But apologies are just words. What matters is what you do next. And that's when something beautiful happens. Rex, his ego finally cracked open enough to let in some light, asks the question that will define the rest of his journey. Would you teach me? Not how to fight, I can already do that. But how to be the kind of man who deserves respect instead of demanding it. The days that follow transform the gym from a temple of ego into something approaching a dojo of wisdom, and the ripple effects spread far beyond its concrete walls. Rex's transformation doesn't happen overnight, real change never does. But it begins with small gestures that speak louder than any of his previous bluster ever did. He starts arriving early to help set up equipment. He stops referring to newer fighters as amateurs, and begins calling them students. Most importantly, he begins each training session by cleaning his own area, following the example of the man who taught him that dignity isn't diminished by honest work. The other fighters notice. How could they not? The same man who used to demand that others pick up after him now stays late to ensure the gym is spotless. The coach who once mocked anyone who showed weakness now patiently works with beginners, teaching them not just technique but the respect that should come with it. Discipline starts with the small things, Darius tells Rex during one of their early morning sessions, before the gym fills with its regular crowd. How you treat your equipment, how you treat the space, how you treat the people around you, that's where character is built. Rex nods, his hands carefully wrapping his gloves with the same attention to detail he once reserved only for preparing to hurt people. "I never understood that before," he admits. "I thought strength was about making others feel small." "Strength," Darius replies, his mop moving in steady strokes across the floor, "is about making others feel safe to become strong themselves." The videos continue to circulate, but something interesting happens as the story spreads. It evolves beyond just another bully gets comeuppance viral moment. People begin sharing their own stories, about times they were underestimated, about jobs they did with pride despite others' judgment, about the difference between demanding respect and earning it. A construction worker in Detroit posts about how he went to night school for 15 years while building skyscrapers during the day, eventually becoming an architect. A cleaning woman in Seattle shares how she raised 3 children who all became doctors while working multiple jobs, never once complaining about the work that fed her family. A maintenance man in Florida reveals that he's been writing poetry for 30 years, creating beauty in his spare time while keeping office buildings beautiful during his regular hours. The story becomes bigger than Darius, bigger than Rex, bigger than any single moment of justice. It becomes a reminder that human worth isn't measured by job titles or social status, that dignity is inherent rather than earned, and that the most dangerous assumption anyone can make is that they know someone's full story based on what they see on the surface. Where are you watching this from? Have you ever been underestimated? Have you ever underestimated someone else? 6 months later, the transformation is complete but ongoing. Rex has become one of the most respected trainers in the city, not because he can knock people out, he was always good at that, but because he can build people up. His students don't just learn to fight, they learn to carry themselves with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing they're part of something bigger than their own egos. And Darius? He still arrives before dawn and leaves after everyone else has gone home. He still pushes his mop bucket across the rubber mats with the same methodical precision. But now, every person in that gym, from the newest amateur to the most experienced professional, greets him with genuine respect, understanding finally that the man who keeps their world clean is also the man who showed them what true strength looks like. In the end, the most powerful transformations happen not in the ring, but in the quiet moments that follow, when people choose who they want to become. The story reaches its natural conclusion on an ordinary Tuesday morning, 6 months after the punch that changed everything. Darius is doing what he's always done, arriving early, turning on the lights, preparing the space for another day of training and growth. But today is different because of what it represents. The complete integration of who he was, who he became, and who he chooses to be. A new fighter walks into the gym, young and cocky, with the kind of swagger that suggests he believes the world owes him something. He looks around dismissively, his gaze sliding past Darius as if he's part of the equipment. It's a moment that could recreate the same toxic dynamic that once poisoned this place. But Rex is there now, and the Rex who exists today is a different man than the one who once wore arrogance like cologne. "Hey," he calls out to the newcomer, his voice carrying the authority that comes from hard-earned wisdom rather than inherited privilege. "Before you do anything else, you say good morning to Darius. He's the man who keeps this place running, and he's forgotten more about fighting than most of us will ever learn. The young fighter looks confused, glancing between Rex and Darius, trying to process this unexpected lesson in respect. But something in Rex's tone, not threatening, just certain, makes it clear that this isn't a suggestion. "Good morning, sir," the young man says to Darius, and though the words are somewhat mechanical, they represent a beginning. A chance to start differently than Rex did, to learn respect before needing to be humbled into it. Darius nods acknowledgement, his slight smile suggesting that he sees the potential for growth in this new student, just as he saw it in Rex all those months ago. "Good morning," he replies. "Welcome to Iron Beast. We're glad you're here." As the gym fills with its regular rhythm of training and improvement, Darius takes a moment to reflect on the journey that brought him here. 3 years ago, he walked away from professional fighting because he was tired of a world that celebrated destruction over construction, ego over honor. He found peace in work that others might consider beneath him, but which he understood as essential, creating clean, safe spaces where people could pursue their dreams. He never expected to fight again. He certainly never expected that single punch to become a symbol of something larger than himself. But life has a way of asking us to step up when the moment demands it, to be who we truly are when the world needs to see it most. "Some warriors wear gloves," Darius says quietly, his words meant for no one and everyone at the same time. "Others carry brooms. But the real fight, the one that matters, is always about choosing dignity over destruction, respect over dominance, and service over self." The mop bucket catches the morning light streaming through the gym's windows, its metal surface reflecting not just the fluorescent fixtures above, but the faces of everyone who has learned to see differently because of what happened in this space. It's a reminder that transformation is possible, that people can change, and that sometimes the most powerful victories are won not by defeating others, but by elevating them. The gym hums with purpose now, the sound of people pushing themselves to be better, guided by coaches who understand that true strength comes from building others up rather than tearing them down. And at the center of it all, steady and sure, is the quiet dignity of a man who knows that the most important battles are fought not for trophies or recognition, but for the simple right to be treated with respect regardless of the work you do or the uniform you wear. If this story moved you, if it reminded you to look deeper before you judge, or if it inspired you to treat everyone you meet with the dignity they deserve, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because the real victory isn't in the knockout, it's in the world we build together, one interaction at a time. Remember, never judge a warrior by his uniform. Some carry weapons. Others carry the wisdom to know when not to use them.